Okay, so when the sun rises, the moon sets, and when the moon sets, the sun rises. That is a very short passage from the I Ching, but it is part of today's theme because today is day 30 of Moon 1, the final day of Moon 1. So at some point Thursday, well, literally in the morning, overnight, it will be the new moon, and that will be the apricot moon as far as we're concerned. So this is the lunar tau. We're following the lunar cycles day by day, looking at sort of Taoist practices, Taoist traditions, and kind of expanding on it with anything that's in my wheelhouse. My name is Ollie. I'm an Eastern physiotherapist practitioner from the south of England, Southsea in the UK. The company is called Red Sun Horizons. The name Red Sun Horizons, or the name Red Sun originally, came from, literally I dreamt it. I was trying to think of a name at the time when I was about to create the business, and literally just dreamt it. And as in, it was like a visually, I don't even know what the previous dream was, but it just kind of just skipped straight to this a piece of clothing, and then like all of a sudden it just been written into a name tag. Woke straight up, and then weirdly googled that name Red Sun, and it came up with the Red Sun Apocalypse, which was the lifting of the veil, or the kind of awakening kind of thing. Every time I've word searched Red Sun since then, that's never come up. Red Sun is also synonymous with China. I believe it was a song written for Mao Zedong. But it took me ages to finally actually accept that as the title or the name for the business, and finally figure out what it was about. But ultimately, the red sun is always at dawn or dusk. It's a time where you're always somewhere between night and day. It's that perfect balance of yin and yang. So it's a very alchemical time. So that is effectively that. It's quite image inspiring as well. But anyway, okay, so this is day 30 of Moon 1. So using this as a prompt still, the Lunar Tao by Deng Ming Dao. So the title they've gone with for today is Riding the Tide. So it's looking at, so obviously leaving the past in the past, and working with the now and the future, etc. So there's one passage I kind of like from this, which is where, well, just to explain, obviously we have just kind of like come out of winter, so that is the time really for hibernation. It's more for the time for like rest and fasting and rejuvenation and restoring. So if we haven't taken time for that, so if we aren't taking advantages of the tide going out, we won't benefit when the tide comes in. Which also kind of sounds like the old, take your jacket off when you're indoors, otherwise you won't feel the benefit when you go out again. All that kind of stuff. To continue from that, so if we aren't taking advantage of the tide going out, we won't benefit when the tide comes in. You can be powerful simply by identifying the next crest and riding it. So much of success in life is being in the right place at the right time. If your personal goals coincide with the tide of times, you will be highly successful. But if your aims go against the tide, you will go nowhere. This is the time when the first month continues into the second month. Contemplating the power of this transition yields advantages to last a lifetime. So, I know a lot of people who work with full moons and all this kind of stuff, and trying to, work with intention is always what it's about. I prefer to work with the new moon. So at the beginning of each new lunar cycle, I kind of look at where I am, what I should be doing, and what I want to focus on for that next lunar cycle. I tend to use oracle cards and little bits of like just insight, intuition, divination type things. And half the time what comes up in the oracle cards is what I already thought like a couple of days before. So it is kind of already there intuitively, but it's nice to have that little backup thing, and then to use the cards as a fixed thing that it stays there throughout the lunar cycle. So it's very easy to get distracted and do other things, but it's nice to come back to that and kind of like remind yourself where you're supposed to be, or where your focus is supposed to be. So I think I did I did something probably episode 1 of these videos. So Moon 1 Day 1 or possibly Moon 1 Day 2. I would have covered like new moon rituals and stuff. But so there is one little poem that continues through this book as well. So I'm never going to read the entire page, but the swimmer rises when the ebb turns to flow. It reveals the power that makes all things, beginning and ends with the sun. So yeah, without going through the whole poem, it maybe doesn't make quite so much sense. But going back to values, study the gods, strengthen your values, fall back on values to face the unknown. That is the only way that the swimmer rises. The swimmer rises when ebb turns to flow. So it is effectively about being in the now, moving with the seasons, working with nature. That is kind of the key principle of Taoism. And then the Tao can mean numerous different things. It can mean the way. It's also it can mean Tao is a type of, technically a knife, what we call a sword. But to the Chinese, if it just has one edge, it's a knife, regardless of how big it is. Whereas if it has 2 edges, that's considered a sword, or at a certain shortness, it's more of a dagger. But that is another word for the Tao. So a Tao is what a lot of people call the broadsword, but the Tao sword is really the Tao knife. You've got the ones that are on the ends of poles, like the Guandao, named after Guan Yu. And then you've got the Pu Dao and all this kind of stuff as well. So effectively, it can be a blade. It can also mean the way. And when we talk about things from the Tao Te Ching or the Tao Te Ching, depending on pronunciation, we are talking about the origin of everything. So that is that which is before all things. So from the Tao comes 1, the 1 creates 2, 2 creates 3, and 3 creates all things. So it's looking at before there was any particles or subatomic particles, etc. It's looking at the origin source of everything. So and obviously Taoism doesn't claim to know what that is. It's still just as interested in finding it as modern day astrophysics or theoretical physicists. Okay, so the last bit I'm going to read from the Tao Te Ching is number 64. It's quite a long one, so I've kind of sped through today's one just to get to this. So, what is rooted is easy to nourish. What is recent is easy to correct. What is brittle is easy to break. What is small is easy to scatter. Prevent trouble before it arises. Put things in order before they exist. The giant pine tree grows from a tiny sprout. The journey of 1,000 miles starts from beneath your feet. Rushing into action, you fail. Trying to grasp things, you'll lose them. Forcing a project to completion, you ruin what was almost ripe. Therefore, the master takes action by letting things take their course. He remains as calm at the end as at the beginning. He has nothing, thus has nothing to lose. What he desires is non-desire. What he learns is to unlearn. He simply reminds people of who they have always been. He cares about nothing but Tao, thus he cares for all things. So, yeah. Covering a few different subjects in that one, but it's a nice one that you can read again and again and break into sections and all that kind of stuff and work with. So, that is everything for today. I will see you tomorrow for the first day of Moon 2, which will be the apricot moon.